Good morning, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Paul Karitzis, and today I'll be giving you an exposition on the first of my esoteric symbols, which will be the sun or gold. But before I do that, I'll just want to introduce you to this little diagram here, which I'll be making continuous reference to. It's from an 18th century German book entitled The Compass of the Wise, and what it basically depicts is a condensed summary of the esoteric worldview. What we have here is the word superius, and over here inferius, and here we can see a clear division of upper and lower, so basically explicating that everything below or in the corporeal plane is a debased reflection of everything above. And we don't mean literally above, we mean above as in another plane of existence, an ethereal plane of existence. Another thing which the diagram shows is quite clearly, here we have a white pole and here a black pole, so that's basically yin and yang, the positive masculine and negative feminine polarities of existence or manifestation. And we also have the four elements which I've spoken about in a previous lesson. Up here, belonging to the positive sphere, we have fire, followed by air. Fire and air represented by a triangle and a triangle with a bisected line respectively. And on this side we have the negative elementary pole of existence. Up here we have the symbol for water, represented by an overturned triangle, and down here the symbol for earth, represented by an overturned triangle with a bisected line. Up here we have the 7 ethereal manifestations of the cosmos, the 7 planets, and over here their respective corporeal manifestations, the 7 metals. Okay, so I will continue. Today's lesson will be based specifically on the sun or gold. Perhaps the esoteric worldview is encapsulated best by a 16th century alchemo-mystical didactic treatise entitled The Splendor Solis. According to an old legend, the mysterious author of this text, who was Solomon Trismosin, imparted the secrets of the philosopher's stone and spagyrical methods to Paracelsus of Hockenheim, thus enabling him to pioneer the field of iatrochemistry. Comprised of 7 individual tracts that are replete with 20 or so illustrations and accompanied with lengthy quotations, the text vindicates that all corporeal things originate in and are maintained and exist of the earth according to time and influence of the stars and planets as sun, moon, and the others. These, together with the 4 qualities of the elements which are without intermission, moving and working therein, thereby creating every glowing and procreating thing in its individual form, sex, and substance, as first metals originate in the earth of a special and peculiar matter produced by the 4 properties of the 4 elements, which generate in their mixture the metallic force under the influence of their respective planets. So again, another condensed summa of this diagram over here. This is basically, no doubt, a condensed summa of the animistic Neoplatonic cosmos, where Mother Nature is regarded a living organism or animal, and all her creations are not only interconnected and linked with one another, but infused with a kind of love or mutual attraction, which is called sympathy. The materia prima, the base substance, as the origin of all things, is implicitly referenced, from whence the empyrean of God, the sphere of the fixed stars, the prima mobile or rotating heavens, the ether and 7 planets, the moon as well as the earth itself, comprised of the first 4 differentiated elements, so fire, water, air and earth, all materialize. Furthermore, the unique combinations formed by the 4 ethereal elements produce the plant, animal and mineral kingdoms. While the 7 planets are an exoteric expression of archetypal powers delineated by the sphere of the fixed stars and the zodiac, the 7 metals themselves express initial manifestations of unique permutations formed between the 4 ethereal elements under the aegis of the 7 planetary powers. If all that is below is a pale reflection of everything above, as the Emerald Tablet would have us believe, then astrology and alchemy must be inextricably linked. Given that widespread belief that the planetary powers governed a part of the human body, it became common knowledge that astrology was primarily concerned with the manner in which the heavenly rotations controlled human destiny. Alchemy, on the other hand, was a sacred science deeply embroiled in the explanation of the earthly metals and elements. If the divine spirit were to be personified as a letter descending from the heaven to the earth, the uppermost echelon, over here, would be hot and dry in nature, masculine in sex and full of action potential. This pole of existence over here. Alternatively, the lowest echelon would be cold and wet in nature, feminine in sex, and wholly receptive or passive. One might undoubtedly ask, where lies the logic in such reasoning? Well, the act of being and becoming in the cosmos can only be experienced if there is a polarization of the divine spirit, or pure consciousness, into entirely active, as we said, and entirely passive poles. Irrespective of where they are positioned on the consciousness totem pole or scale, all cosmic qualities express themselves actively through the planetary powers and passively through the metals, over here. The highest active pole is incarnated light, intellect and pure essence. Its nature is inflexible, eternal, and unchanging. Hence why the solar orb, active materialization, over here, and the metal gold, which is represented over here, passive, it's the passive materialization of the same formative force, are considered its corporeal constituents. Both the sun and gold are radiant and magnificent, seemingly indestructible and free of any blemishes or tarnish. There is an obvious qualitative connection between the two that remains unacknowledged by contemporary science, save perhaps in the sideswept scientific investigations of contemporary, or actually all the scientists Frau Lily Kalisko and Agnes Feith. These scientists wholeheartedly conformed to the esoteric perspective that the planetary body and its metal were heavenly and corporeal reflections of an eternal principle, the active pole of existence. In fact, this is the teleological condition that the whole of Mother Nature strives for, to become pure being. In hindsight, sentient nature and all her conscious constituents wish to become divine spirit. Following a course of logic delineated by sympathetic associations, if the sun and gold are exoteric markers of this highest cosmic principle, then the other 6 generative powers reflected in the planets and their metals over here must be substandard variants of this prototype. From a purely animistic standpoint, one might describe them as premature births, abortions or failed experiments. All symbols for the 7 generative powers which comprise the cosmological totem pole, the multidimensional, I call it, ladder, which extends from the Empyrean of God, the highest heaven, all the way down to the sphere of the earth and dross matter, are cut from 3 rudimentary shapes, which are the circle, the semicircle, and the cross. As the only proponent of immaculate geometry, the circle is identified with the uppermost echelon of the cosmic ray, so pure consciousness, which we can see on this side. Of course, heated by the sun over here. Therefore, it is a pictorial synonym for both the sun and gold as reflectors of this cosmic quality. The symbol itself is completed by a single dot midpoint of the circle, and that's down here. It can't really see it because it's small. I'll give you a better look at it towards the end of the lesson. Over here. Okay, so the symbol is completed by a single dot, as we said, in the middle of the circle, implicating gold as the only metal through which its prototype, incarnated light, finds and seeks expression. In alchemy, the concept can also be exemplified by the figure of a king. And we can see it in Splendor Solus over here. This is plate number 4, I believe, of the Splendor Solus. So that's Luna, and that's Sol. So that's the figure of the king. Active and negative manifestations. As a metal, there is evidence to suggest that gold was known from about the 4th millennium BCE onwards. So in places like Egypt and Nubia, where gold was more plentiful than dirt, ancient temple inscriptions have been found describing the fire-setting and quartz-crushing methods that have been used in extracting gold from desert mines. Its therapeutic properties have been known from antiquity, but its popularity soared during the Middle Ages when Swiss physician, alchemist, mystic and philosopher Paracelsus of Hohenheim began administering it to his patients for the alleged purpose of cleansing their circulatory systems of pathogens and impurities. A little later, the first pharmaceutical bodies of Renaissance Europe created a gold tincture called Crocus Solus by subjecting gold to the action of nitrohydrochloric acid. The precipitate was then subjected to a cycle of distillation with water and mixed with a small amount of potassium as it condensed into a fine powder. Many Renaissance, Freudian slip there, alchemists believed that by preparing gold tinctures or solutions, they were creating the elusive elixir of life. And I actually have a little sample of gold, genuine gold over here to show you. This is what gold or gold leaf suspended in liquid looks like. See them swimming around there. So and I'll also give you a close-up view of that symbol, which I should be able to get now. You can see it down there. That's the symbol for gold. Just here. And there's a much nicer example of it on my website. And that basically concludes today's lesson on the esoteric symbol for the sun or gold. I will see you next time for our next symbol, which will be silver or lunar. I'll see you then.